girls, just a quick recap of part 1, and for the guys, this. But by ignoring the biological differences between the sexes, both sides lose. Because in this case specifically, men can actually do with learning a trick or two from women about lower body strength training, rather than women getting pulled into a man's world. So here's a different way of looking at women's strength training that'll also help men. Yeah? Well, cue intro. Let me explain.
Science time.
Intensity and volume are inversely proportional. The heavier it is, the less times you can lift it. The lighter it is, the more times you can lift it. But there's a spectrum in this relationship. If you gave figures like 100 kilos would be 1 rep, or 1 kilo would be 100 reps. Now these figures aren't accurate, but they illustrate a point. The horizontal line for people in sports can lean. So athletes might go through phases where they lean the line towards more volume for that intensity to promote growth, or more intensity for that volume to promote strength. It's absolutely not set. It's fluid, depending on who you are and what your training background is. Here's another chauvinist diagram where maximal strength for women isn't as high. So how can a woman reconcile that difference? Yep, she can increase on volume using the slope. Oh, you're going old school. Women lifting light weights, high reps, Olivia Newton, and a long johns. No, this is not lifting light weights loads of times. As a strength technique, it's useless. There is a place for that. Learning patterns and rehab, yes. Women's strength and shape training, no. Volumes like church, all are welcome. I revise that statement. Volume's better than church, all are welcome. In fact, if you don't think of volume as a time-constrained variable, speak English, what? Doing all the reps in one go, or timing the recovery between sets. Imagine just looking at total volume for the organism. Picture doing 100 reps at 80% in one go. Now, I don't want to crush your dreams, but that'd be impossible.
I'll do what I want.
But if you split it into sets, it becomes possible.
Whatever, I'll do what I want.
And if you have all day to do it, it becomes a lot easier. But here's the secret. Even if you spread it out throughout the whole day, you'd still make some enormous gains off it. So by that rationale, women can make up for the shortfall in absolute intensity by a whole-scale increase in volume, i.e. sloping the line, which can equalize the workload. And that's the word, the concept. And here's the logo, conveniently created by LexCor's IT department. And while a woman might not be able to match a man's intensity, she can match his workload. Right, so they can just do lots of squats. Well, it's not that simple. Oh, here we go. Never is with you. Overdoing any one pattern to the detriment of all the others will make you excellent at that one pattern, but will negatively affect the others, pulling you out of balance. But variety is the answer in women's strength training, and this is where women can excel with their creative mind, which will equalize the workload and even surpass it. Their hips are hella strong, strongest joint in the body, and the shoulder joint can work through an incredible number of angles. They'll both take a beastly volume, so use all your options for them. So consider this. There are 3 resistance patterns for the hips: bend, squat, lunge. And you've got 3 planes of movement. For bend and squat, you've got bi and unilateral versions, and you've also got step-ups and hip hyperextensions. Step-ups are the eccentric first squat pattern, and hip hyperextensions are the isolated back portion of the lunge. You've then got 1 and 2 arm barbell and dumbbells, and weird and wonderful ways of using the machines, depending on your gym. You can use different stances, different accessories, different shoes. Maybe not those. The differences are endless though. Use it all. If you work your hips every day, but in different ways, you'll lift more total weight than a guy who's fearing his weekly leg session. And it'll show. Double bonus! The more you work your hips, the more you work your legs and core. Very useful if you want to have kids, because sprogs will mess your core up. Other core crumblers range from periods to cesareans, laparoscopies, gallbladder removals, hernia repairs, and other abdominal or back surgeries that people have done. Now, statistics show that 100% of men don't get pregnant. Nah, don't trust stats. But men do tend to have less core-altering surgeries in their life, so while it's an issue, it's not as pressing. Another example of nature-induced sexism. and the weather girls called her Mother Nature. Women need a whole sack full of movements that they can do excellently as a benchmark so they know what they're trying to get back to. You know the woman that bounces back the best and fastest after pregnancy? It's the one that knew what they were doing training-wise before and during. I've got no scientific data on that, but it seems reasonable. And girls, don't get locked into dogma over free weights and machines. Use it all and use it frequently. Now all of this is good advice for the boys too. Yeah, right. Blokes have been training for years without all this variety. Yeah, but men's higher absolute intensity means longer recovery because of greater neural drain, which means they can get away with less variety. Personally, I don't think it's ideal because it leads to injury and imbalance, but they do it. If Gavin's 95% is 160 kilos and Stacey's 95% is 50 kilos, she'll recover more quickly because the total strain as a percentage of body weight on the organism is greater for Gav. Hashtag man problems. So women lifting less maximum intensity means they can recover quicker, and having more variety means they can do more workload. But also, both men and women's core strength and balance at the top level is amazing. The real difference comes in the extremity strength of the arms and legs. So because the nervous system is most affected by core activation, not isolation... English, boy? Do you speak it? Okay. No one gets overtrained on bicep curls or leg extensions. And if women can have killer core strength and balance, similar to men, and the average weight of a man and a woman is 70 and 83 kilos respectively, that's only a 13 kilo difference. The average strength difference between men and women, though, is way more than 13 kilos. Check out these lifting records. While women like Becca Swanson are crazy strong, she's still getting vastly outstripped by men. So if the relative core strength is the same, but the absolute strength is vastly different, women's cores can handle the weights they need to lift to get the body that they want without the neural overload. And in women's workload training, the calorie burn's bigger, so it's easier to keep your weight under control, even if you're enjoying a meal. And that right there's the payback, the payoff, the balancing of the scales for the woman that chooses to define her strength by workload rather than by maximum. If you're a girl happy doing powerlifting type training, then sincerely, more power to you, in all senses. But if you want to be strong and you don't just want to measure your strength like a guy, then calculate and focus on the workload number, not the top end number. As a girl, would you feel weak or strong if you said, my hips lifted 20,000 kilos this week, and my bum looks great in this? Exercise your creative mind, coming up with different ways to train all the movement patterns. And add an aesthetic beauty to the form of your lifts so you get admiring for the way you lift the weight rather than just how much you might lift. Make lifts look good. And while SJWs can argue over whether there's equal pay for equal work all day, this different look at strength training can guarantee women equal payback for equal work done. So it seems that weights aren't actually sexist after all. As long as you realise that equal doesn't mean the same, it means fair. Maybe feminists and chauvinists could learn a thing or two from talking to a dumbbell. But don't talk to those machines, they're real pigs. Yeah, that's right, honey. Come and sit on my face. Oh, yeah. I'm so triggered right now. I'll shut up or I'll hit you with some split squats from Bulgaria. If you found this helpful, hit the thumbs up. Have your say in the comments, babe. If you like my vibe, please subscribe. Woo! Woo!